Hi guys, good morning and welcome to my podcast. My name is Mandy and you can find me on the internet as Mandy Von Knits on Instagram and Ravelry. So welcome to my knitting podcast. I am here to talk to you about knitting and yarn, and there will be some crochet thrown in this week. I have been working on my Tunisian crochet shawl and I've got a little bit to talk about that. This was the first kind of section where we incorporated two colors, so I'm gonna let you know my feelings on that. But other than that, I have a finished object. I showed it to you last week, but I brought it back this week for a very important reason. I blocked it. I wove in the ends, and I wanted to show kind of what the blocking did to this object whenever it was done, because it does have brioche in the neck, and I knew that, and I knew it was going to kind of modify the finished object. So I just want to keep you guys updated on that. Other than that, I just have some basic knitting. This week has been, all over the place, but we'll talk about that in a second. Let's get down to admin first. So if you are new here, welcome. I really appreciate you giving me a shot and listening to what I have to say about crafting and knitting in general. I am 39 years old. I live in southeastern Michigan, and I am incompletely paralyzed, which comes up every once in a while when we're talking about kind of accessibility or different patterns and how they might work differently for me as a wheelchair user. So if you are new here, introduce yourself down below. I would love to hear more about you and kind of get to know you guys. One thing that I do love about having a podcast is that I get to talk to and interact with people from all over the world, and I get to hear about different things that are cool in just different countries, and it makes me really happy to hear about that, to hear about what fellow knitters and crafters and are just getting into everywhere. So I just wanted to mention that just in case anybody was, not wanting to say anything. I welcome all comments. It's very cool to hear from you guys. So I give away a free pattern prize every week. So the way that it works is that I go to a random comment picker. I put the URL of my YouTube video and I click a button and it picks someone randomly. So I've put in two rules to kind of level the playing field and make it even and fair for everybody. The first one is that you can only win once a month. I put this in because I wanted it to, kind of be fair, so I wasn't picking the same person over and over again. The second rule is that your pattern prize just has to be 15 USD or under. I am going to leave a blank spot right here. And that will be the winner for last week's podcast. So if that was you, please reach out to me on either Instagram or Ravelry and let me know what digital pattern prize you want. If you don't use Ravelry, let me know that too, and we will work together to figure out a solution to get you your pattern. But other than that, if you are interested in winning for next week, just leave a comment down below. The comment can say whatever you want it to say, basically. Try to make it nice, but other than that, whatever you feel like commenting. Okay, so I mentioned that I wanted to show you guys, ooh, I'm shaking things. I wanted to, see that? I'm sorry. It's in my bag here. I wanted to show you guys the difference that blocking made for the Cowltopus. So if you remember last week, I had the neck on this, and this was 6 inches from here to here. I blocked it and now it's 10. So that is the difference, and I really like how it opened up, and I was expecting just that to happen. And I am going to put it on and block this part out because I don't like getting changed in front of a camera. It makes me feel self-conscious. So here we go. And you basically pull it inside like this. Ooh. Gotta pull it up on the back too. There we go. So this is what the Cowltopus looks like. And trying to kind of zoom in, well, not zoom in, move in. But this was a lot of fun to make. And I really like how this looks and how it kind of fits on the face when you're pulling it all together. And, you know, all together, it didn't take much longer than I would say a hat took. If I were to, sorry, I don't want to cover my face as I'm talking about it because I know that mouth motions can sometimes help people. But I really like how it covers my face, and I wouldn't consider this pattern much more knitting than a DK weight hat. Just a little bit more. The brioche, after a while, it did go fast. And I really liked the brioche pattern that the Cowltopus used. I didn't consider it very hard. The first part is just straight knit and purl. And you can actually, Laura Nelkin, who is the designer, actually says in the pattern that if you don't want to do the wave brioche stitch, you don't have to. You can carry on with just the straight knitting and purling. So I thought that that was cool. I really liked that I decided to give it a go and try the brioche wave stitch, and I ended up really liking it. Now, if you look, let me put it back up here. So it's about this length. And I think that that is pretty good. It is about to my shoulders. So when it's all up, if you want it to be longer than that, you'd want to go longer than the 10 inches that I went. The pattern recommends doing the cowl part, so the brioche part, or the non-brioche part, because there is also the option to do just knit and purl. So the pattern recommends doing between 8 to 10 inches of that. So this would be the longer side of that, and you could most definitely make this part longer if you want it to cover like more down here. In fact, you could also kind of increase, that's the word. I'm sitting here thinking, what's the word for going out like this? And I'm like, is it increase? And I was second guessing myself. So, you know, it's just a day in Mandy world where my brain is all over the place. But if you wanted it to, you could increase and kind of increase as you gain length and kind of go out here, so that way it will cover your shoulders a little bit more. But I really like this, and this is in the end what the pattern did call for. So anyways, I wanted to show you guys that, and hopefully I don't mess up my hair, but this was a lot of fun to make, and I would have never tried it out if my mother-in-law hadn't have asked if I could make it. And it hadn't been on my radar, but now I think I want one of these. So that is where I am right now with the Cowltopus. So let me put it right over here. There. It's not gonna fall. Oh no, my hair's all messed up. Okay. It's okay. We're good. So, do you guys remember the kind of back and forth that I had? Am I going to cast on another Cowltopus? Am I going to work on the Shetland skies? What am I going to do for the next week? Because that's kind of what I like. What I like to sit down and decide with you guys. What am I going to do for next week? What are my knitting or crafting goals? So I, in the end, did decide that I was going to cast on a Cowltopus, and I'm actually really glad that I did, because I love the colors on this one. And as soon as I show it to you, you guys will 100% understand why these colors are just my thing. So I am working on, I didn't get very far. I don't know if I've mentioned this yet, but last week I had a lot of, what am I trying to say? I didn't have a lot of time to knit. It seemed like things just kept coming up, and that's fine. It's perfectly fine. That's sometimes the way things are. But I did cast on this, and this is also with Emma's yarn, and this is just the very top of the Cowltopus. So I love those colors, and I love how that main color, the purplish gray, looks against the pink. Now, I am using the same type of kit that I used for the other one, which is a kit that I bought from Four Pearls yarn store. And it came with, I believe, 1 skein of DK weight yarn from Emma's yarn and 4 mini skeins. So I did run out of yarn on the other one that I did, but I'm feeling that especially with colors like this, I'm going to be able to match them. Because if there's one thing about yarn I have pink yarn. So I have no problem holding 2 fingering weights together to get some DK. But this is, let's see, so for the first clue, you have, I believe, 16 rows. And you repeat those 16 rows 3 times. At least I think there's 16 rows. But whatever, you guys understand. You have 20-ish rows. You repeat them 3 times for the first clue. So I am on almost the 3rd repeat of the first clue. So that is where I am in the pattern. After I'm done with the first clue, then I move on to the second clue. And I did really like the second clue, I think, the most. After the second clue, you're moving into brioche territory. So the first 2 clues are basically the hood of the Cowltopus, and the second 2 clues are the brioche or the ribbing, depending on how you decide to go about your decision making on the Cowltopus pattern. But I thought that this was super cool. I know that Laura Nelkin right now is actually doing a knit along, and she's doing a knit along for a pattern that I believe is called the Lake Hug. That sounds right. I'm putting up the pattern information here on the screen, and I thought about it. I really did think about it, but I have 2 other fingering weight patterns that are on the needles right now. And I have a Tunisian shawl, and I'm working on this. So I didn't want to add anything else, but I did think about it because I think that the idea of the lake hug is really cool. Just having like the shrug almost, and then the sleeves. So if you are interested in doing a knit along and that is something that you're interested in, I would definitely check it out. This was the Cowltopus. That's what I'm trying to say. The Cowltopus was a mystery knit along that took place, I believe, last October. And honestly, if she does one again for next year, I think I want to do it. Or another mystery cowl along. I know that Stephanie Lotvin also does like the colorwork cowls, and I need to pay attention to when like her Halloween one comes out, because I think that would be a lot of fun. Every year on Instagram I see all of the colorwork patterns, the mystery patterns that she does, and it's very cool. So I definitely have to pay attention to that. Okay, so that is what I did on the Cowltopus, and I'm really liking the knitting. The main color is this kind of purplish gray, and you see that there are like these specks of green and blue and purple, and I think that is really pretty. It almost reminds me of like an oil painting. So, and that is DK weight yarn. But the other stuff that I am working on, let's see. Let's talk about my Tunisian crochet shawl first. And I am going to kind of give you the background on this. My Tunisian crochet shawl is called the Tunisian Sampler Shawl. It is by a designer named Hayley Joanne Robinson, I'm pretty sure, and the information has gone up on the screen. Now, this shawl came to my forefront when I noticed that Around the Table Yarns, which is a yarn shop in Ohio, does something that they call a Project Monday. Now, the Project Monday is really cool. It basically features different patterns throughout the year, and they offer either in-class classes on Monday or on Zoom at night. So they picked the Tunisian Sampler Shawl, and when I saw it at the beginning of the year, I was like, this sounds really cool. I would love to kind of use it as a way to learn Tunisian crochet. So that is what I did. And the way that the Project Monday works is that it features one of these patterns each week throughout the month. So the Tunisian Sampler Shawl is featured, I believe, at the end of the month, or maybe it's the 4th week of the month. So once they released the pattern for, or the YouTube video, because they do put the videos on YouTube, once they released the video for it, I decided to give it a try, and this is what it looks like. This section was called Brickwork, and I don't know if it was my favorite. So the problem that I had with the Tunisian crochet color changes is, I guess I should start at the beginning. If you're not familiar with Tunisian crochet, you basically work a row by picking up loops. Now, at the end of the row, you have oodles of loops on your needle. Think knitting. So the second pass works back, and that second pass basically closes off each loop. Now, for the first pass, you worked one color, and for the second pass, you worked the opposite color. That meant that at the end of each row, you cut your yarn. And that would be why I did not like going with the Tunisian crochet. If you guys can hear my cat outside yowling, well, not outside, outside the room, that is him. He is a 19-year-old male cat, and he sounds like he has one of those tinsel balls. Not the tinsel balls. They're, I don't know how to explain them, but they're little cat toys, and they're very sparkly, and he carries them around yowling because he wants to kind of let everybody know how great of a hunter he is. So that is what is going on if you hear him yowling. He is not in distress. He is just showing everybody his catch. So, but yeah, like I said, I don't know if I really appreciated doing the two colors. Now, for this shawl, this is kind of what I have so far. This is a triangle shawl, and we are basically doing a section a month. The yarn that I am using is Shepsha's Scrumptious. Now, you will also notice that I don't have 7 ends. 14 ends, because I actually wove them in when I was done because I couldn't leave them like that. It would have driven me nuts. So I wove in the ends when I was done to make sure that I didn't have very many. The only one that I have left is just the basically the ending loop where I am going to undo to change the color for the next yarn. But honestly, when I saw this pattern, I really truly thought about swapping it out and just doing a different Tunisian crochet stitch. But then I realized, and I thought about it, and I really did think about this. This kind of threw me off for a little bit because I'm like, do I really want to do this one? I don't like how it looks. But at the end of the day, I was doing the shawl to learn how to do different techniques in Tunisian crochet. And I wanted to learn it and have the opportunity to do it, even if I didn't like it, just because, you know, maybe one day it will come in handy. And there's nothing wrong with learning a new stitch, even if you don't like it. So that is where I ended up in that. And I do like how it's coming out. I feel like if I do this again, I will have more of a coherent color scheme. I will pick like 2 different colors and kind of do it that way, because I feel like there's a lot of color going on, and maybe next time I'll just take these 2 colors and kind of go back and forth. But I do like it. I think the thing that throws me off is that each section is like a different width. And that makes certain colors more overpowering. So this color right here, this purple, is really overpowering. And like this one down here isn't as thick. So I don't know. I just feel like it could have a little bit more color balance. So if I ever do another mystery knit along, remind me, guys, that I do like making sure my colors are balanced. So I might kind of give it a little bit more thought next time with how I plan out certain things. But it is fun, and this is another thing that I want to mention. The fabric on this, so I'm feeling it, and I'm feeling my Cowltopus right here. So this is knitting, and this is knitting with DK weight yarn. And I'm feeling like this Tunisian crochet is about as thick as this knitting. So that's an interesting kind of side note, because I know that certain crochet and certain crochet stitches can be thicker than knitting. This is about on the same level, and it's very flowy. I would consider it more flowy than certain stitches I've done in crochet as well. So if that's something that's important to you, if maybe you've decided that you don't want to branch out into crochet because you don't like the certain fabric that it gives, I would maybe give Tunisian crochet a try if that's something that interests you. Because I know that for some people, maybe they do like certain things about crochet, but they don't want to dip their toe into it because they've heard that maybe the fabric is a little bit more thick than they'd like. That Tunisian crochet is definitely an option if that's something you're looking for. But okay, what do I want to show you next? I think I'm going to show you my Vertices Unite, and the reason I'm saying that is because that way I can move it over here, because the Shetland the skies that I've been working on is attached to 3 yarn cones. So it's kind of hard to manage. So here we go. This is the Vertices Unite. And the first thing I want to say is this is the color that I picked for my next section. And I'm going to talk about why I picked this one specifically. So this is a solid color section that I've picked. And let me see if I can get out the schematic of it. And that will actually help in explaining what's going on. I hear some poor puppies outside, very, very upset. So I hope someone brings them in. You know how you can kind of hear dogs sometimes barking from like a couple of blocks away? That's what I'm hearing outside. Okay, so this is the schematic for the Vertices Unite. And last week, I was working on this section right here. So this third one, that's E. And it looks like a giant rectangle. And now I am working on this section right here that works out from AB, which means that it's using 2 different colors, and it's section D. So it's that teeny tiny section right there. Now, the sections that I have left are colors A and C, which don't really matter too much, but what it signifies is that I have, after this one, I have one section where I use 2 colors with a stripe, and one section where I use like a full, just one color. So the reason that I picked this gray right here is because I needed to find 2 colors that I have for my shawl that I haven't used yet, and I wasn't going to be repeating. So what I did was I decided to pick this color and this dark color, because I figured that these 2 colors would go well for the stripe, because if I picked these 2, hang on, I'm trying to cram too many yarns into my hand at once. So if I picked these 2, I didn't think that there would be enough contrast between them. So that is why I decided to use this as a single color and then kind of stripe these 2, because I figured that this would be more than enough stripe. And then the final color will be kind of a medium purple. And you'll have to take my word for it. I don't want to dig it out of my bag and make like everything fall. So hang on, let me make sure I'm showing it to you on the right side. Nope, wrong side. Okay, so this is the section that I am working on right now. And I do like how it comes together. And as you can see, this is straight knitting. So this is garter stitch. This is a garter stitch shawl. And I haven't done much knitting on it this week, so. But that is what I've started with, and I'm hoping I can get this section done and maybe start on the next one for next week, but I don't know. Guys, I've been kind of like all over the place this week, and I have a knitting, well, no, I have a crochet idea that I really want to work on, and I'm going to talk about that when I'm done showing you all of the other stuff. But the reason that I need to work on it is more out of necessity than the shawl. So if that's any inclination, that crochet object might be worked on next week instead of this. So I guess we'll have to see. I do love how the colors look, and look at how big this is. Yikes. Trying not to like hit my hand into stuff, but hang on. Here we go, right there. And look at how I love that. And I've been kind of thinking about what color to do the I-cord in all around. And I don't know if it's like a single I-cord that you pick up all the sides on, but I don't think it is, because there are some sides that seem almost finished, but maybe I'm wrong. It wouldn't be the first time I'm wrong. Hang on, let me see. No, maybe not. I don't think so. But anyways, all that to say, I think I want to kind of border it with a darker color. So I'm thinking this, because I feel like if I border it with a darker color, it will make the colors in the middle kind of pop better. But I don't know. It's either I take something like this or I do an even darker gray. My mind kind of immediately went to, well, you could border it with like a black color, but that would be too harsh. So I'm thinking this right here. But yeah, that's kind of where I ended up on this. So, oh, it is what it is. I will get it done, and I'm actually having a lot of fun on that one. But like I said, this week has not been the knitting time fairy has not given me a lot of time this week to do knitting stuff. So This is my last project I am working on, and let's talk about the pattern. The pattern is the Shetland Skies, and it's a colorwork poncho, and I am knitting it with Holst Garn Tides, which is 30% silk and 70% wool. I have no words today. So I am changing up this pattern quite a little bit. So if you've looked at the pictures that I put on the screen, it basically works like this. There's a colorwork chart, and as you're knitting through the colorwork chart, it swaps the color. It swaps a color that you're working with. So say you start with white and blue, you work about this much of the chart, and then you go to white and like pink, and then you work a little bit of the chart, and you keep going down. It would actually be a really cool project to work with one color changing yarn and then a solid color. But you'd have to make sure that your contrast was very good. With all of that said, I'm not doing it that way. I went through and decided, hey, this color, this part of the chart is going to be this color, and this part of the chart is going to be this color. And I brought in a third color, so I'm doing basically 3-color color work. And this is what I've landed on. So you can see the star, and you can see some of the, is it a star or a snowflake, you guys? You can see that it's going to have another point right here, and it will be basically a snowflake. I know that it, and the pattern had said that it's a classic motif, and I can't remember that. That's why it's important, right? Because it's a classic motif, and it's referred, its name is, it has a specific kind of name. So, but with that said, you can kind of see what I'm doing right here. We've got this classic motif, and then we have this tree right here. And basically the poncho just kind of builds up, and I believe I've actually gotten as wide as it is supposed to. So I am on row 20 or 21, and I believe there's about 64 rows of color work. So what I am going to be doing is probably moving it to a longer cord to see the width that I get, and to decide, am I going to put in some extra stitches right there, because the pattern kind of builds up increases in certain ways in certain spots, and I have no problem modifying the pattern. If I need to add some more increases, I can just go ahead and do that. But you can see that I've got this cowl knot going on, and I think that it's kind of a beautiful lacy look. So this is what we are, and try to ignore looking at my floats there, because this is Holst Garn Tides, and I have no problem leaving my floats for however long they need to. I don't intend on catching them for this type of yarn. Now, if I were using superwash, I would 100% be catching floats. But the benefit to working with yarn that is non-superwash is that it catches on itself, and it's a little bit easier to manage the floats, especially if whenever you're done, you can kind of work to almost felt them down a little bit by hand to make sure that they catch. So that is my plan for this. It's not going to bother me to have stringy floats for my poncho, especially with non-superwash wool. Now, this has kind of made me really want to start working on, what is it called? And I'm gonna put up a picture right here. I believe it's like the CatKnit Pullover, and I was gifted this pattern from a fellow podcaster. Her name is Karen from Bobblehead Knits. So if you've never seen her podcast before, I 100% tell you to go check her out. Her podcast is awesome. And she sent this pattern to me, and it is a circular yoke pattern with cats all around the yoke. And I keep thinking about it. I keep looking at this and I keep thinking, oh, I really want to do this pattern. So I know, guys, I know what you're thinking. I've said that I'm going to start like the sea glass cardigan and my Zelda sweater right after this, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to go do that CatKnit sweater. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be using this yarn as well. Now, I have in cones, and these are what the cones look like right here. In cones, I have this aqua color. I have cream, which is this cream color, and then I have the black, which is called Raven, I believe. And then I have like a reddish burgundy color, which I'm not using for this poncho, but I've been like kind of swapping them out in my head, trying to figure out what colors do I want to use for that CatKnit pullover, because it only uses 2 colors and I want them to be very contrasty. So do I want a black sweater base with like a white cat, or a red cat, or a blue cat? Those are my options, because I definitely want the black sweater, I feel. And I just can't decide on the cat color. Or maybe I want like the red sweater with white cats. See, this is why I have so much trouble picking yarn, because I just don't know. Leave a comment down below and let me know what sweater colors you guys would pick for that sweater, because like I said, I have 4 colors. I have black, cream, aqua, and red. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, a white sweater with the aqua cats would not show up. Because that would be something that I'd go for, and it just won't happen. The white sweater with like the red cats or the black cats would show up, or vice versa, or the blue sweater with white cats. So I don't know. It's gonna be so hard. I might end up having to swatch for that. So I guess we'll see. I have to finish this first though, guys. So I guess I need to buckle down on this one and kind of get it done. I believe there's a repeat of 3 of these. So basically I repeat this star 3 times and then the color work chart is done. Maybe. Or maybe it continues on another page. I guess I should be checking that out. I don't know. Sometimes I get so excited about knitting and what I'm knitting that I just look at the pattern and I'm like, okay, this is great, and cast it right on. And sometimes that really messes things up. So I do not recommend doing that. Definitely read through your pattern and definitely get all of your tools ready. But I get very excited about certain things and I just jump right in. I like to be adventurous, and I like to just experiment with certain things. And I also, this is me, I also don't mind ripping things out. So I can spend a week working on a sweater, and if it doesn't look right or I don't like it, I just pull the whole darn thing out and do it all over again. And sometimes if that's not something that you're comfortable doing, I definitely recommend, swatching and taking your time and doing things. But it hasn't really bothered me yet. I definitely do tear things out when it's called for. Okay, let's talk about crochet plans because I've been kind of thinking in the back of my head about making an item. I have some yarn and it is like fabric yarn and I want to make a rug with it. And that is kind of where I'm at right now. I've been looking at crochet rugs on Ravelry and I've been looking at the oval ones, the circle ones, and then kind of the long rectangle ones. Now, you guys have probably seen these crochet rugs before. I know that when I was growing up, they were very popular. People would hand make them and just all different kinds of ways you can reuse sheets or shirts, different fabric that you don't have another use for. Well, the yarn that I have is basically a rainbow assortment of yarn. So I have a rainbow of colors, but I only have a specific amount of each color. So I know that this is a Mandy thing, would not be okay with making a circle or an oval because the color distribution would be off. Now, if it were scrappy and completely scrappy, like I was just pulling colors from wherever, it would be fine. It wouldn't bother me. But because the yarn is a rainbow and there's a specific amount of each color, I don't want to do a circle or an oval. So I'm pretty sure that I am going to work on a crochet rectangle rug. Yarn rug? No, it won't be yarn. Like a crochet rectangle fabric rug. Wow, that's a lot of words. I hope that you guys know what I mean. And I've been thinking about it and I've never used this type of yarn before. And I don't even want to call it yarn, it's fabric. And I'm very excited about using it. And we definitely need the rug. And it will be super easy to wash because it's, you just toss it in the washer. It's fabric in the end. I'm curious about how I'm going to figure out what needles, or not needle size, what, geez, I just completely threw myself out. Threw myself out of whack. I'm curious about what needles, I did it again, about what hook size I should use. And then part of me in the back of my head, and this is where the needle thing keeps showing up, or coming up, is part of me thinks, do I want to do like some sort of knitted rug? There he is. Hear him? He loves those little toys. And he's 19, so that's pretty good for his age. We have a complete side note. We have two 19-year-old cats and they're getting old. We actually bought like some stairs so that they can still get on our bed because like I said, they're getting old. So they do, by the way, have stairs for cats or dogs. If you are in need of them, you could definitely find them. After we got a new bed, when we swapped out our bed, it was a little bit higher than the other one. And one of the first things we noticed was that they weren't able to kind of jump up there. Our female was, but the male, who's a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier, not because he's overweight, but because he's a male cat, he just can't make it up there. So we did end up getting the stairs. And now all the cats use it. Cat owners, during the day, do your cats just kind of congregate and sleep like around your bed, like on it? I've noticed that our cats will just sleep scattered around the bed. We have 3 cats, 1 on each corner of the bed. My husband will laugh about it and he'll go, "We need another cat for the other corner." And I'm like, ooh. But yeah, okay. I'm sorry, guys. It's it's a squirrel day. I've been super excited about knitting and crocheting, and now I kind of want to tie up with talking about the rug. So like I said, the crochet rectangle rug, and now I'm kind of thinking, do I want to try to knit it? The only problem that I see with knitting is that knitting does not lay flat as in the stockinette, and garter stitch takes up more fabric it takes up a lot more fabric because it kind of compresses against itself. I could do like a stockinette with some sort of border around it and see how that goes, but I don't know how much of a border I would need to make a stockinette rug lay flat. So maybe I'll kind of research on Ravelry and see what I could find there. But that's where my mind is right now. I'm thinking, oh, we need a rug, and this rainbow fabric would be beautiful for it. So be on the lookout for that. Okay, I think that with all of that said, that's kind of where my crafting experience has been this week. I don't know if I'll have more to show you next week or not. It's kind of always up in the air. Sometimes certain things happen after work, which is my knitting time, and it kind of messes up being able to knit. So it is what it is. I am still studying for my certification. I am going to be starting school at the beginning of June, which is next month. Can you guys believe it's May already? I can't. So I'm starting school at the beginning of next month, and I'm hoping that I should be able to take that certification sometime at the end of May. And I'm really still kind of nervous about it because I'm only scoring like 70s in the practice tests. So we'll see where it goes. We'll see. I'll keep trying and see where I end up at the end of the month. It might be that I have to kind of push it into June, and that's perfectly fine. There's no rule that says I have to take it at the end of May. So other than that, I am reading the Will Trent series still. I believe I'm on book 10, and there are 12 books, I think. Yeah, so that is where I am. If you like police books or like detective novels, those are pretty fun to read. They're kind of, some of them can be kind of graphic, so if that's not something you want to read, I don't recommend it, but I do like it. I like the characters and I like the stories, and apparently it is a TV series. And I only know this because it says on the cover of the Hoopla book that it's now a TV series on NBC, I think. Though, to be fair, I have no clue when that book came out, so it could have been like 5 years ago that it was a TV series. So it was at one point. How about that? Speaking of TV series that have become a book, I have not checked in with, what's that book? Silo? There's a book series, Silo, and it's a 3-book series, and Apple TV made a first season of it, and then the writers went on strike, and it stopped coming, or they postponed the second season, and I think it's out now, and I just haven't looked at it or watched it yet. So that is something I should check out. That is a great book series. It is about a future where people are living underground in these silos. So the silos are underground, and the people are living in them, and they think that they're the only people left, but there are really I should stop talking. I'm gonna stop talking in case you guys want to read it, but it's a very good series. I definitely liked it, and I thought it was interesting. So if you feel like reading a dystopian novel, that one is pretty good. But if you're only going to read one dystopian novel, read The Stand, because I think I like that one better. Okay, we're done for today. I hope that you guys, wherever you are going to have an awesome week filled with knitting or crocheting or whatever crafting that you want to get into. And remember, if you do want to enter for next week's pattern giveaway, just leave a comment down below and I will keep my fingers crossed that you win. Okay, thank you guys so much. And if you could, please give this video a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button. I will see you next week. Bye.